So I'm reading Pretty Boys Are Poison, Megan Fox list of poetry. And I guess they are in the lines of like her creative thought process as she wants to express as she tries a few attempts. Some of them are so short and they don't follow any particular structure. I just feel like it's her attempt on making vocational process on thought things. There's also drawings, which I don't know if it's hand drawn from her perspective of things, but like it seems to me like someone is kind of like delving into the creative aspects of her expression, which is probably not something she's used to, given the context of what I'm reading. One pages can be like a few lines. They feel like a beginner. That's what I want to say. It's always nice to hear the thought process of someone that's new that you met. You kind of like take an impression, starting for me from inferences from Jennifer's body to memes and ongoing gags I've heard into her circumstances from her movie career in one of the popular franchises from me growing up would have been Transformers, and controversy on what was said and the implication externalized from banter, but having really huge consequences. I feel it's her reaching out in lines of her fragility after put in that situation and confirming to what I would like to say is just like in lines of like converting to public opinion to conform to be able to think that's the only way she would ever be desired in lines of her industry, given the context that maybe she doesn't have a strong educational or guidance in lines of her industry. And I'll try to pick up some parts of the poem, what I like to put in lines poetry. I wouldn't say it's so much poetry, but more like parables of expressions of thoughts. Because I feel poetry has a certain guidance, but like she's totally new at writing and expression, and you can see it. Like there's nothing linking any hard themes, and even if those she titles the book "Pretty Boys Are Poisonous," I feel it's just her venting on maybe like circumstantial things that she was highly desired for or seek for in terms of like eroticism because she's normally seen in that way. It feels like she has had her fair share of encounters of like guys that just didn't follow through in her life, leading on to her venting out. And surprisingly, from what I took from the first parable, she is looking for that long. She does long for romanticism, which I think she already had. You know, being in a married and being also have a long term partner. I can tell what the circumstances. I'm not that much deep into like gossiping in terms of interpersonal relationship, right? I'm more in the movie side, making reviews and flattering actresses on a passive about. But normally, I that comes in lines of the channel's kind of like depiction and humor when I try to put down creative content, from reviews, from reading stuff to exponentially. The whole talk show meme implying that I give it a chance of using their works in lines of expressing in lines of interpretation of what I watch. Getting the impression that she has a lot of huge attachment to expressional emotion from fashion having representation, making a sneer joke or something. Her artwork, I don't know if she drew this, but like it's not that bad. Some of the facial character are decently realistic. I am not one to like personify art, right? It's art is perspective and also personification of emotions attached to this, right? Perhaps because Megan Fox drew this in, as we say, like some people may have attachments in different directions for her. They can see value in it. For me, my perspective is I never see the side of her in kind of like expression of like what we say creativity. So even though they are still in a sense sexual, they still feel like it gives me a sense of like her being able to deepen her emotions, putting aside through just sexual gratification. You know, this is where I take a stance of like I can't describe it. See, I haven't done enough psychiatry studies, and it's been a long time. But like when we want to describe certain things, because like I think what she writes are just pure thought process of emotions when she reacts to something. Kind of like when you see something on the internet and you react and leave a comment. But there's no context for me to pinpoint when she writes these things. You see, it's disgruntled. Maybe she doesn't make the appreciation of the reader to contextualize her emotions she's trying to channel on the pages. And I believe poetry carries that significance when they are externalized because, there is a contextual story that's been written. So she's not a good writer. Make an appreciation of a link of her poetry, and I cannot say where she's dragging inspiration. Could this be related to previous lovers? That's one theory I would put down. Each page has that, and was the title of the book? It just kind of implies a lot of even how she chooses to comes live expression. You think it's linked to some form of sexual what do you call her emotional expression of thoughts from her sexual journey. It's the best way of saying it. And even on describe it. So my thought process, if I ever had to interview, I would ask, do each poem kind of pick a representation of partners you previously had and how you felt about them? Or do they come in line of movie references as well? Because I can see certain movie references, titles placed on them. And it could be a few words, but they're very short and very easy to read. I could go through this in one day. It's just, the book is just not great in terms of the book isn't that great. It's poems, but it doesn't give enough perspective on the reader to really get a grasp. Readers kind of have to read it and try to figure out something, and there's not enough information unless I go to talk show hosts to kind of get a good grasp if I am correctly interpreting what is it that you expressed when you wrote this. You wrote this for a reason, but what was it? It does put you in question in lines because she is a mother of two, so in lines of the kid's educational upbringing, how does she took a stance here? Because you can see that she has clear, open weaknesses in areas that later on further kids' development in school. This is my favorite poem, I think, page 63. I've learned to look at the floor whence men speak to me. I've stopped trying to share charming anecdotes over dinner, because you always finish them for me, and I certainly don't dare laugh at anyone's jokes, not even your closest friends, because we've all seen what happens when a smile creates on my face, across my lips, that you didn't put there. I put on my shortest dress and highest heel so that you could show me off, while simultaneously keeping a possessive hand around the back of my neck. My will was atrophied to my chest, my feelings stick to my throat, never forming words. I forgot that I had a voice, long before you decided to become a ventriloquist. And somehow, in spite of your genuine longing to be loved, you prefer it this way. The art of an accessory. This is the best poem I feel that I've read so far, given the context of how I kind of take interpretation of maybe getting a picture of what Megan Fox's life may have felt for her. Remember, this is perspective, and this is her giving her a thought process. She is seen as a trophy wife, maybe, and she's very reserved and hasn't developed a lot of confidence, particularly in some settings in lines of being able to fit in expectations of I don't have enough context to know what men is he talking to when it's supposed to be talking to her. Is this a men who are developed in professional duties of productivity or powers? You kind of do have to give perspective and insight on your work. So maybe her intelligence isn't well respected. That's how I feel, where she has very huge insecurities in relation to this. This poem makes me laugh. I have a certain personal emotional attachment as well to duality of certain things being a theme concept, my own perspective of things. Some of these poems impressed me from where he's going. They kind of play around certain things I could feel attached to. They say that when the wind blows, the spirits are talking. As I stood outside the storm out today, soaking wet and battered, I let them speak. They tell me that I believe you are my hero, whose integrity and kindness are just temporarily shrouded by the pain of your past, and that most certainly it's my soul's purpose to save you. so that we can finally live happily ever after. But truthfully, the wind whispered, "You have been my story's most insidious villain. This is my battle, my resurrection phase. It's time to defeat you by rescue myself. I am Prince Charming." This poem is kind of has a lot of like implication. No, I don't know where her inspiration here is. Okay, she might read something in particular that could have drawn this, but this feels the whole anti-hero concept, right? And this feels something that I feel attached to as well. The theme of an anti-hero. So I personally take attachment, but again, I don't know where she takes inspiration from these things. They're all randomly assorted. They're pushed out bits and bob. But like, there's not enough context to know where she takes these things. They're just forms of expression, and they don't give enough insight. But of the poems I pick, if I had to ask anything, I would have asked her in lines of saying, "So, what gave you the inspiration of like writing this? And did you write this on pure creativity? Because like a lot of poems that you write, they don't have any structures. Like we're near the end, and some of them are getting better. So did you do some reading to find ways to write your poems a bit better?" And at the end, it goes, "I am Prince Charming." This is the duality of saying, right? This is weird. It says, that's funny because I was writing the trailers and it's like, no, that's fine. Leave that. I finally hear a poem where she just talks about her kids, and it's a nice refresher, but maybe unexpected given the title of the book. They say that nothing lasts forever, and I drag myself out of bed and smile for my children, counting the hours, until I can dematerialize into the murky realm of my unconscious, searching for even the most fleeting moments of relief, for this devastating wildfire inside my chest, 1 hour at a time. No, she has 2 kids, so I get the impression I like that ending because it gives you contextualization. So she tells you the story, and the title makes you feel a deep attachment because it contextualizes how much she spending with her kids. That's why I take a stance. So this poem is a good one as well, 71. It's counting the hours until I can dematerialize into the murky realm of conscious for the visual. Okay, maybe I overthought that, but 1 hour at a time. So 2 children is 1 hour at a time. Maybe they could have been more contextualizing, but you know that whole lead-in, and then one word lane can contextualize that makes you understand the whole passage. That would be insightful. That would make a poetry feel really good, because you're reading a story and the context at the end gives it. I don't know what the word I'm looking for emotion, but it's just like. It's like when you finish the piece of a puzzle. That's it. When you finish the piece of a puzzle and you put the last piece, you can see the whole picture. This kind of writing would be symbolism in terms of giving great form of expression and satisfaction, because along the journey of the story, the final piece comes at the end. Or let's put it in a conversation. The hero always comes late, because like we have to kind of contextualize this. So the hero always comes last minute to save the day after like a whole premises of like being drawn into the submersion of the story, right? Submergent story, being attached to characters and its development, finalizing it, and being able to piece out the details of the events for having one scene. There's probably something to describe that in storytelling, and I would love to kind of figure how to express that better. But I'm limited as well from what I know in terms of terminology, being mostly having bias in different directions. So Megan Fox likes to see herself as this kind of like scapegoat, because like, I guess the implication is just like she feels like she's a great for the, I guess this it's contextual for women. So like her sacrifice is in lines of like for if in a circumstances where a lot of women seek romance, it's not her case. She has a partner, right? But like she does describe this being playing that role in life, right? She's a circumstantial lamb where she feels that she has to be the object of lust of guys or boys. Boys is the best way of saying it, and at the cost of like losing opportunities to form better long-term relationships, which is something a lot of women kind of desire. This is interesting. It says passion, from Latin to suffer, veritas. And I don't know when she started like getting like, this is what I mean. when she gets drawn inspiration from writing things and she's just expressive, it makes me think, okay, well, as the books progress, I'm kind of getting some understanding. She's finding certain things to draw her in terms of like a particular way of like she expresses it because she likes it. She's shown an affinity to something that I can't be sure what it is, right? This is a passage from the Bible. Maybe the apple was actually a cock, and maybe Eve wanted it because Adam was too busy self-absorbed and distracted to fuck her. Maybe the original sin was a man taking a woman for granted. And I've always liked snakes. So snakes in that passage were the ones that tempted both of those characters to take the apple when they shouldn't have been, right? But I'm trying to grasp a good idea of like what she's trying to push out an expression in this implication. She's saying man's duty to provide sexual gratification is a fault in the man, if I take a stance. And where she says taking a woman for granted, it's hard for me to conceptualize this as well. Because for what I understand, the woman brought the man to eat the apple when the man thought that they shouldn't because it would be disobeying God. So she's contextualizing this in a different way without full understanding of certain things, which shows a bit of a, for me, I would say in a very demonic tone, there's a knowledge gap here. But she knows some stuff, which she tries to conceptualize. She's always like snakes. So this is because she's a seductive. She's a seductress herself. She's at the art of seductress. This is where I take a stand of understanding it for this passage. She's good at luring and pulling people in. For me, there's always a sense of excitement, understanding someone that's completely different from me, and seeing her development, all those things that I just do not understand, right? I don't know. I just recently made an effort to like try to connect after watching a movie and taking some interest in this. The artwork improves a lot, and yeah, I like it. They form a bit more of a. They develop a certain sense of maturity, and that shows to me like a sense of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Intelligence. Yeah, that's it. Intelligence, and it is quite sexy. I take a sense of there's a bit of turmoil at this point, page 85, which I feel it's a bit like I get like what I'm trying to say is just like a more for like lines of like building on people's life. So I hear this and just like there's a certain sense of insecurity in this poem that I read, page 85, and he's to the point of where he's trying to there's a sense of insecurity in this in page 85 for the poem, and I feel that's a shame because like I would say that to take a stance of something like that is just like it seems he's grown quite attached, but she's looking for more in lines of her gratification, or she finds certain satisfaction in creativity, and I love that. I absolutely fucking love that, and I hope she continues this. But it sends a sense of like it puts a sense of insecurity in a certain perspective of something. This poem kind of takes a stance of where I feel. I wonder if it's like a journal poem. This is the best way of saying it. A cataloging of starting something and each day improving, and it's one of the most poetic. I love the strategy actually. I feel what she's done is quite creative, and it's on her own spiel of things in terms of like my first interpretation of it, but writing not necessarily following a very strict theoretical poetry, but kind of like putting in lines expression in line of her day to day, or not her day to day, but like as things progress in her life. This is the timeline that I'm taking a stance of reading. And I like that she's feeling a bit of sense of empowerment, which I would like to say it's confidence in the things she's developing. It's a great tone, and I'm feeling quite stimulated from this. So I'm just like, it's pretty cool. Interesting. She holds a very strong emotional attachments to lies of seductive demons. I'm guilty pleasure thinking that's not something that most people, most boys fantasize about. Um, they say these kind of women ruin innocent men and tempt them because I don't know how much I should say, but like sex is very addicting. Sex can control a person's demeanor, externalization, and personalization of life. How she contextualizes it is that seductors ruined opportunities or families, and this is kind of like a mundane template approach of like functioning in a cohesive community over the realms of chaos. It's like, which would you prefer to choose? If it was common lines, would you be living in that kind of like? Uh, I feel like she's already a mother, but like she takes the identity role of being a seductress, and that can have a bit of a paradox feeling, which I feel like she's selectively reserved to not express in this book as she's writing it down, because I feel she does have like I only know the snips and bobs, but sometimes she feels like motherhood may not be the life that she wanted to adjust to per se, but like at the same time, I feel like she doesn't want to be denigrated, but she know because like I take a stance of like succubus and like demons come in lines of like having a certain objective of like uh what's this word I'm looking for? For me, they hold a position of like a lust, but they hold in a position of lust in a certain power dynamic, and I can't say if it's like in that kind of mentality. Um, they're very they hold a lot of like I guess what the word of it's just I don't know how to say. Even so, there's expressional and creativity, and these things are appealing and adds on to a woman's uh, charm, right? Because I am one of those guys. I feel like when a woman's able to display effective traces of intelligence and expressional thoughts, arts is a great way of doing it. She shows a lot of like dimensions in terms of her beauty that most people would not reserve to see on the surface initially, which gives you a bit of sense of like knowing a kind of like a secret that she holds, and these things can help deepen a bond with people who make the effort to check this. However, this book is not very long. Implication of saying like a woman who refuses to get on all four for an insecure man. I don't really get it. This is something I yeah, there's a lot of picks. This is why we're doing an interview around picking pips and bobs, and kind of play in terms of what she wanted to express in her intent on certain things. And where did she decide to draw the inspiration? Because like there's something that must have inspired that she liked, and taking a twist in personal education is one of the beauty of things, and it's how we kind of like explore individualisms and creativity about just being the mundane or something. This is good. She finally projectifies that her thought process is that I was never really small. It was a matter of force perspective, your optical illusion, being a massive fan of magic and loving how it plays into trick and give people a a performance show. Alternatively, if you look to the left, you see the women she's drawn in are holding cards and a wand. So it's just like was the queen of mystery. And I do find that cute in terms of expression. So it's like it's interesting being having me also taking a kid always wanted to like get into magic and like getting the idea that this is a form of like of understanding her own. It's taking a theme and adding on to her own forms that she may feel that she felt weak on, because like at some point she felt like she couldn't really express herself, which I feel that's never should be a case for uh, becoming a person that you feel very happy about yourself. I feel again, page 99 makes the loneliest king, and like I take fond of this poem as well, so I'm not gonna say more. If you want to check it out as well, but it does come in lines of like I would say is like, what's the word I'm trying to look for? It's a form of expression, not expected, but like they are symbolic, because if you think about it in a very contextual sense, they come in lines of representations that are not normally described, but they are more specific to personification. Wow, I did not expect that. And it plays a lot on themes that I've already kind of expressed, but like they hold a certain beauty, because it's hard to make sense if it's good or bad. I I feel like the way these poems are progressing, it's a way for me to think just like wish I could kind of like return that kind of form expression. Now I just want to finish reading this really quickly, because I wanted to put us efforts in different ways. But like we'll have to see. It's like I have a few minutes. I was gonna if one's gonna charge, I can still do what I need to do. Um. Okay, I do have to put in lines of priority to when I do stuff. For implication of like what I think it's gonna give me in terms of like expectations of like where it carries my life. I'll read this and I'll make an attempt to see if I can do something in time or not. Otherwise, I might find a different way of doing it and see if that's good enough. We'll see. I just want to kind of get this done and return. It's always just like it's a give take thing. I love seeing an implication and returning the favor. This is interesting. I feel so I don't want to say anything in lines of which you guys someone's decided to go on forward in life. I would say like as a singer, like there are certain things that she finds. Every woman is different in terms of what really likes to turn them on, but a good portion of it is like seeing like this is a big clue. I would say. I would like to say like okay, so I don't want to say anything in lines of like I don't want to like, take in lines of like her direction, but I would like to say that there are certain things she finds erotic, and the direction is like rather than gravitate towards implications of like finding what she likes and drawing it in direction to show that you want to be seen as that as well. All right, so like there's just a certain beauty of having like fantasies stretch out into a person in ways that where you feel unexpected, and the beauty of like the unexpected is one of the things that I cannot stress into like really channeling into a woman to make her feel great. And I will say that's the biggest thing that I like to put in lines of like getting someone that I felt I could even in a very different contextual, make me see to like want to say like the art of like kind of like making someone feel special, I guess that's the way of like personalizing something. It's one of my guilty pleasures in doing in regards to like interacting with something. But like again, they do come in cross lines of like a priority of time, fundings, and whatever assets you can kind of project. So I feel like the direction is just like just channeling into her interest in ways that you can externalize on yourself. I feel it's a good way of like a of being able to channel to grow. And I'm gonna hold off to say like what the where this goes, but like it feels to me I've gone a bit hooked of figuring out like where does she take her journey onwards at this step from where she has a lot of uncertainty. Where will you go? It seems she has cycles where she's expressing negativity, and she deals it with, I guess, like ways that we would like to say are like play on a mood, right? So it's just not to say this is the solution for everyone, but like everything in moderation is my stance. I'm not here to like stop you from having guilty pleasures of things, but I'm here to take a stance of like making a line when I should think I should intervene to say stop. Her affections do change, but like I can see there was a temporary momental inspiration that draws her to feel a deep emotional attachment, and I cannot tell you more about the saying. Just like, well, I watched some of your own works and reviewed it and said that this was something that I also thought I would like to pick out and see was in your own character. So like it grabbed me interest past the point of like what you were expecting most young boys to like take an appeal to you. I feel now I kind of understand as the poem goes on in terms of like her satisfaction in delving into current romanticism that she's feeling currently in life, and I see that as just what's the word I was looking for? She wants to be felt that you still see her in the regards of when you first set your efforts from writing a Bloody Valentine song. So I now read the ending and I see the illustrator with someone else, Audrey Kawasaki, an artist born and raised in LA, where she lives, and currently lives in the UK. She currently contrasting themes of innocence and reticence relating to conversion of feminine sensuality. Her sharp imagery is painted the natural grain of adding warmth to enigmatic subject matters. And she has an Instagram later on that you could check it out. Because I do compliment and take a good appeal towards the art development. I don't know if she's been there for her whole journey. There's more I would like to pick out in terms of fleshing out the storyline when it comes down to when she started writing this and where this led on to. And I feel like I can't say it's just like a good portion of where the poem leads and the unexpected of seeing inspiration where I would have thought of like saying, when did this become a hit for you? But like putting aside that circumstantial effect, I want to kind of like push out that I hope you do be able to find the joie de vivre really, and like take implication of like seeking that expressive form that you've had, because the poems get significantly better later on, and maybe adding on more creativity in reading something. So I would have taken a stance of like even reading and pacing of like certain poetry forms. This is not my form, but like seeing how a good portion of things that you've taken a lot of confidence in, in music in lines of like finding right lyrics that forms a person poetry in expression. I feel like that would be cool. A temptress is also benevolent on the words she chooses and knowing how to craft them in a moment and effect to be able to pull in and pull in a person's nature towards them. I think the nature of what, like I will be saying it, you've tempted me for a few expectation of characterization of what you've expressed in some sentences. You and I gotta say it is more in line of what? How can I need to find something. Hold on. I feel your skills can come. It's too bad there was only one person working with you for this poem, but I guess it was a short effort. It was something that you wanted to do on a kind of like non too time consuming basis, and I think you would probably enjoy extending things in lines of like on a greater standpoint. There is a sense of maybe I would say a good portion of the restrictiveness might come in lines of a loss of confidence in the dynamics of where he stands a role of popularity, maybe, or popular, or tank stands of accomplishment, and this kind of leads on to for the direction that he's in terms of where he takes an attachment to seeing himself as a whole with you, and I feel like you want to reach out, externalizing to show that you can kind of do that on yourself. So I take a stance of like saying, whether you choose to reinforce and throw stuff that I always put at the end of sentences in regards to what people would think. Maybe you can also do things that have drawn you into seeing life in ways that could be more colorful from how I perspect things in terms of your inspiration. Poetry extended to your life, and that also adds to the art of seducing when people can look at you in a whole picture and you get the majority. There's certain implications of being a seductive in other ways that would feel on, well, you now understand the art of like magic, right? So there are ways of enticing maybe others in manners that show a different perspective to make you seem in more ways of like seeing, actually, even when I swim, I still know how to bring in boys to come follow me through the song that I take, makes you want to scream. Hey everyone, thank you for putting the effort to watch the effort I placed on making something of an entertaining video. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said before, it's not forced, but like I really would appreciate any contribution and support you give to this channel, as it gives me more motivation and more incentive to enjoy more video creating and content creation. If you find that the content's drifts away at any point, you can always subscribe. It's no big deal. Again, it doesn't mean much. It doesn't take much from you, but it means a whole bunch of me. And it would feel great if you would just reward my efforts of trying to be, positive and contributionary. Thank you so much. Bye.